Hello everybody, this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and I have a fun card to make today for a friend of mine, and it's kind of a Pinterest inspired idea. I'm going to show you the link to the card that I originally found on Pinterest, and I saved it just because I liked the idea of the card. Even though the card wasn't one that I would use often, but I did like the idea of the card, and I had a friend I wanted to do a little encouragement card for. So we are just going to jump right in and get going. The first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this beautiful gray from the LG pack, and this is all I have left. I hope I have enough to finish this project. I've used this so much. It's so much fun. So I'll be using that. If you haven't seen the LG pack, it comes with lemon lime and then the gray. And like I said, I'm using the gray today. I am using this close to my heart stack that I've had for a long time, or for a little over a year, and I really like this stack. And the color that I'm using on this one is called Smoky Plum. So then from Paper Tray Ink, I'm using the Boutique Borders Sympathy, and it's a die set that came with stamps and a die, and I think both pieces all together came to like $8 or something like that. And I've used it a few times when I was doing sympathy cards, and this isn't a sympathy card, but I wanted to use it. I'm using the Cuttlebug Birds and Swirls, and this is one of the parts that I've already got prepped just to save a little bit of time. From Paper Tray Ink, I am using this purple cardstock. It is called Plum Pudding. I really like this. I love the weight of Paper Tray Ink's cardstocks. So I knew that I had this purple plum, and I knew that's what I wanted to use. And then I'm using this Cool Water cardstock pack from Recollections, and that's just going to be my card base. I also have some white, just plain white Georgia Pacific that I'm going to be using for techniques. So the first thing that I did is I took a white piece of cardstock and one of the purple plum pieces of cardstock, and I ran it through that Birds and Swirls. So now what I'm going to do, these are cut at 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I actually want to match them up, and you'll see that they're just a little bit different in size, but that is okay. I'm going to match them up just like that, so that the patterns are going, I'm going to cut both pieces at the same time. And what I want to do is, and I'm just going to guesstimate kinda, but I want to cut this in I want to cut off about 2/3 of it. So let's see, let's make sure I've got it all straight there. And I know this is going to go off camera just a tad, but I'm going to line this up. Let's see, this is 5 1/4. I think I'm going to go about 3 1/4, and that'll leave 2 inches. So I'm going to trim those at the same time. What I'm doing here is I'm going to be making 2 cards at once. Now I'm only going to actually make one of them with you, but the second one I will make off camera, and you'll see that at the end of the video, so that you can see how that I can do 2 cards at once using the same paper. Now what I'm going to do is I have my white piece. Now I'm going to kind of switch these up a bit, and these are going to go together, and these are going to go together. And because I matched them all up, they will line up pretty much perfectly with each other. So what I did, because I wanted to do it this way, I cut extra pieces of paper. I'm going to just set this one aside, and we'll work with that one later. I cut an extra piece of paper that is the exact same size, so you won't see it, but I wanted it because I'm going to be putting ribbon around the middle, and I wanted them to line up perfectly, but I didn't want, it's easier if I put them on a base before tying my ribbon bow. So what I'm doing here is I'm just lining it up just like so. There's the first piece, and then this is the second piece. And I am very, I know you hear me say this a lot, but I'm usually pretty generous with my adhesive, but anytime anything is embossed, I am particularly generous with my adhesive, because I just am always afraid it's going to fall apart if I'm not. So what I'm doing here is I am carefully lining that up, just like so. And I see that I must have miscut that my base piece. I must have cut it at 5.5 instead of 5 1/4. So I'm going to just go back and trim that off, and we'll be good there. Just like so. So there we have the decorative part of our card. So now, then I have this this gray cardstock that I'm going to use to put together on the front. But first, I've got another piece here that I've also cut at 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I'm just using that to line the inside of my card so I can write a note to the recipient, and then that way I don't have to worry about it on the gray, because it's a little bit more difficult to see on the gray. So just like so. Okay, so now we have our card front, and then this is going to go right on the front, just like that. So this is where we're going to put our ribbon down next. So I have this gray, and you can see it's a pretty good match for the other one, and I like them when it's not exactly the same color anyway. And I'm going to just tie my bow on the front of this card now. And you're probably wondering why I don't just cut it, but the reason why is because I don't want to waste any of that ribbon, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm getting kind of low on it. So I don't want to cut it until I'm ready to have it completely cut. And then I'll go back and play with the bow a little bit once I get the card all together. But that's my start. And now I can go ahead and adhere this. As long as I've got my bow in about the right place. Maybe I better play with that bow just a little bit before I get my card in the right place. Yeah, there we go. That's better. And then I'll probably just pop a little glue dot behind that when I'm all done, just because I like it to not move. Kind of straighten this out. Like I said, this is a pretty simple card for my friend. And I like this birds and swirls little design because it's not too busy. Some of them I think are really super busy, and I was just afraid with putting the different colors, if it was too busy it would look a little strange. So now what we have, so there's the front of our, the beginning of the front of our card. So now we are going to do our sentiment. And where did I put it? Okay, so I've already started that. I die cut this piece right here, and that is the piece that the sentiment. So what you do is you die cut it, and then you stamp the outer edge. And now I'm just ready to stamp my sentiment in it. But what the sentiment says is praying for you with deepest sympathy. And I didn't want the praying for you with deepest sympathy. I just wanted the praying for you. So what I'm going to do here is I have a piece of washi tape, and I'm going to ink up my stamp, masking off the with deepest sympathy, because this is not a sympathy card by any stretch of the imagination. And then I'll pull off the washi tape and just throw that in the garbage. And then I'll center it. Now, this border is designed to be perfectly centered. The whole sentiment would be perfectly centered. So I'm kind of eyeballing it to make sure that I've got it centered correctly for this one, because otherwise, if I centered it as a stamp would normally be centered, it wouldn't look right, because it wouldn't be in the center because I'm not using the whole sentiment. So there's the sentiment, and I think I'm just going to tuck this right here. Like I said, super, super simple card. So I decided that what I wanted to do, and I forgot to get it out, is pop this on using foam tape. There's a couple reasons for that. First, I wanted the extra dimension of the foam tape. And second of all, I just like how strong a piece of foam tape adheres to embossed. I do have to be kind of careful with the with this ink from Close to My Heart because it's a pigment ink, and so if you've worked with pigment inks, you're aware that it takes a little bit longer to dry, but it still dries just fine. So there we have today's super simple but lovely card, and this is a card of encouragement for a friend. So at the end of the video you will see the second card, and I will kind of tack this center of the bow down with a little glue dot just to make sure that it stays. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.